What happens to Coach Jose now? Pirates finds itself at a similar place as Mamelodi Sundowns at the end of last season. It seems as though, man, there's a game of chess that is being played. Coach Nebi saying things publicly, Kaizer Jr. saying things publicly, but we have yet to know. Maybe you bring in Coach Pitso and you make him a technical director. Does it become a situation where the overconfidence of winning this trophy makes them think that no, we're on the right track actually? Welcome everybody to the George Mokoena podcast. My name is George Mokoena. I am your host, and this is the place where I look at some of the stories from the week, I put them down, and I tell you what I think about what is happening in those stories. The whole point of this is so that we can spark some conversations, whether it be in the comments down below, or whether it be in the WhatsApp groups or friend groups that you guys have outside. The whole point is so that we can have deeper, juicier conversations about this here football that we love and enjoy, and hopefully grow the game. I am not always right, but my job is to put the things on the table so we can have the discussion. So if you could please do me the favor of liking, sharing, following, subscribing, commenting, doing all of those incredibly great things. Now, let's get into what we're going to speak about today. The biggest story over the past few days has to be that one of the leading coaches in South Africa, Coach Jose Rivero, is leaving. Last night was his last game in charge of the Orlando Pirates. He had asked to be released early. There's a lot that we're going to get into there, but I want to start first by speaking about the man. He said in his pre-match interview that it's not many coaches in his profession that get to leave the way that he's leaving. It's not many coaches in his profession that still receive the love once they are leaving. And if I was to tell you that a coach is leaving early, you'd probably think that there'd be a lot of animosity. You'd think that there'd be a lot of problems and anger and leak stories and this and that and that. But how Jose leaves Pirates is maybe so typical of what Jose has been for Orlando Pirates. I think Coach Jose has taught us all an important lesson. Words fade. Promises fade. Hype fades. But if you could keep on working, if you can keep on pushing through and getting the results, that's what people will remember. Whether you've landed in a new country, new culture, the media, the fans, they're all calling you a plumber. Just work. Whether you've got old heads at the club that you're at that maybe make it a little bit difficult to do certain things, just work. Whether you've got a preseason and you know the players or not, just work. Whether they're going to go out and transfer and sign players that are going to bolster you and help the club, just work. Whether there's players that you can't play for certain reasons or injuries that happen, just work. And this is what we're going to remember Coach Jose about. Mild-mannered, seemingly humble when you look at him. And I say seemingly because that's an important word. You're not hearing a ton of stories. You're not hearing him go out in media and say things. You're not hearing even these stories that broke right now. It doesn't seem like there's an animosity. And maybe I should also give Orlando Pirates credit. Orlando Pirates is one of the few big teams we have that are not noisy, that are not coming out and things are leaking left, right, and center. You know, you don't even know sometimes when they move from here to here. You don't know about their transfer businesses. You don't know about their conversations had behind closed doors. So I think it was a merger of two parties that make sense for each other. But Coach Jose leaves a legacy of 5 trophies in 3 years for Orlando Pirates. He closes the gap on Mamelodi Sundowns. Would have loved to see what his 4th year would have looked like with Orlando Pirates. And I made a joke last night that he was a true plumber. He came into a house that was a little bit upside down. There was many problems. And he was asked to fix the plumbing, the pipelines, to open the taps. The taps are open. The youth is pouring into Pirates. The bad things have been flushed out. Jobs that people would not want to do. Jobs that they fear at big clubs. He came in and he did it quietly. So I think Coach Jose is an incredible person. Now, I want to go into two things. Number one, what happens to Coach Jose now? Rumor has it that he is the new Ahly coach. So he's immediately going to go to the north. The reason why he's getting released early is so that Ahly can prepare for the Club World Cup, which is happening in a couple of months. So that is the reasoning behind him leaving Pirates early. The north is a very unforgiving place. The only worry you have for Coach Jose Rivero, to be honest, is you were unable to win the league and unable to win the Champions League here in South Africa after 3 years. And while the MTN8 and the Nedbank Cup can be big deals here, can be happiness here, that side, if you don't win the Champions League, there's problems. Marcel Koller got fired because of that. Now, to his credit, it's going to be the first time that Coach Jose is stepping into a situation, well, after Pirates, is stepping into a situation where he'll have all the resources. He'll have all the backing. If there's one thing about the North, they will give you all the resources you need to do what you need to do. So maybe he can answer that question that I was forced to a degree to bring in a lot of youth players at Orlando Pirates. Yes, it's one of his strengths too. But now that I have my full budget, can I go out and do what I need to do? He's taking over in a very similar situation to, let's say, Coach Pitso. They're halfway through their league season. They're preparing for the Club World Cup, which is going to give him some time, I guess, before he gets the Champions League pressure. The North is ruthless. Like I said, Coach Pitso won 2 Champions Leagues and he still walked out. He walked out, granted, but he was judged quite a bit. We now saw somebody who was considered the best coach in South Africa also go up north to Morocco and struggle with Coach Rulani making his way back. Now, to be fair, again, it does seem like the struggling coaches have been the South African coaches. But a lot of the foreigner coaches have gone that side and done well. Sid Ramovic is being lauded in CRP right now. Former Pirates coach Zimbabwe is being lauded over there. Raja. Yes, he left, but he left invincible, the actual invincible season with Coach Fadlu, who is doing well at Simba. So maybe that's going to work more in his favor. Maybe he's going to be respected a little bit more, owing to the fact that he comes from Spain. You know how us Africans, we view each other. But it's going to be very interesting to see how he handles that. I think Coach Jose has the right temperament for the job that he's going to take, because people tend to be loud and brash. People tend to heighten expectations. People tend to come in and they make a noise and do all of that stuff. It doesn't seem like Coach Jose is one of those coaches. It seems like he's going to keep himself, he's going to hold himself down and be okay that side and not make too much noise. Part of the downfall with Coach Rulani, I think, was the amount of noise that came with it. And I know Coach Jose joins as obviously an unbeaten Champions League coach, beaten once this season. So there will be a little bit of noise. He is rumored to become one of the highest coaches, the highest paid coach in Africa. So that's going to come with his challenges. But I think for him, I don't think he's going to stoke any fires. The one art that is very underrated with what Coach Jose does is his handling of the media. It's going to sound tough, but he knows how to play dumb in front of cameras. He knows how to look like Aramis Capsel in front of cameras. And I think that's going to serve him very well in Egypt, especially if he can bring the results. So good luck to him. But the big thing that I want to speak about today, okay, so I know I stopped the video a lot, and a lot of you are wondering, why are you asking for money? So I wanted to show you. I asked for money because I want to do more of this. Huh? But the truth of the matter is that it took over an hour in order just to render that shot. And it takes even longer when I'm doing my normal content because, guys, here's the unsung hero of the channel. And unfortunately, Shem, but the screen is broken. I have to use a second screen and the performance is not up to it. So I'd really love to upgrade things like that. And when you look over here, this is what the setup looks like. Rehenga di patlo and rehenga di green screen, which is a reality of being a South African content creator. Also, this is what people think is my studio. It's actually my house. So if you still don't know that I'm doing all of this from my home, then I don't know. But that is essentially what I want to do. More of these cool things. But I need you guys to please help me out by donating 50 Rand or more into this account. You know, we're fighting for multi-choice. And multi-choice, but these subscription models all over the place. And I'd love to give the biggest quality while also being able to pay my rent and do things like that. That is where your money is going. And I promise to give you only the best content that I can if you do throw something in. So I just wanted to show you guys what I want to do with your money. I want to take this South African football and fulfill my dream of taking it into the future. But thank you guys so much. Remember, this is the bank account that you deposit into. Get back into the video. Pirates finds itself at a similar place as Mamelodi Sundowns at the end of last season. If you remember correctly, the conversation I had midway through that season about Flemingberg, I think Sundowns ended that season sitting at a crossroads. Do you continue with the model that has worked for you up to this point? Pitso, Rulani, Manqoba, coach-led teams, coach-headed, all the way up led teams who can go directly to the chairperson, who are building things themselves, into Flemingberg, who doesn't have an attachment or family or whatever. He's there to work. And it's moving into, they moved into a more management heavy approach where management dictates. Coaches are mercenaries who come in for 1 or 2 years and they go, and he got rid of all of the roots of Coach Pitso's structure. Now, where Sundowns got to pick that themselves, bringing in, they made the choice to bring in Flemingberg. They made choices to leave people or to let people go. Pirates finds themselves in a very interesting space because on their side, Upra Sten passed on, Upra Skrima passed on. How crazy is it that we know him as Praskrima? Some people know him as Praskrima, others know him as Prasten. But anyway, he passed on. May he rest in peace. Floyd Mbele was moved out, I think, a year or two ago. And now your coach is leaving. That means that Pirates, unexpectedly you might say, finds themselves at a crossroads where they need to decide where to go. And I know other people will say, yes, no, it's the same thing. But think about the type of decisions that Pirates has to make. Number one, Nangumandla Ncikazi. Great stalwart for Pirates, held down Pirates for a long time. Was right before Jose came in that year, him and Fadlu guided Pirates to the Confed. And for all intents and purposes, according to the reports, it has been said that he's the one that makes the transition smooth. You know how we're speaking about Coach Nabi and we're saying that Coach Nabi doesn't have a South African advisor next to him. Here's Umandla Ncikazi who sort of transitioned that team, right? So you look at him and you say, Coach Mandla, do we give you the reins again? I mean, CAF Confed Final is nothing to sneeze on. Do we give you the reins again and say, we are building you since you are inside and you know? Do you become a pseudo Pitso, a pseudo rulani that we've groomed from within, and now we say, Ibambe. You look at the situation with the development kids. The next coach that comes in, must you understand the development of Pirates? Should you still be held to the standard that Coach Jose left in blooding in these new kids, in being brave? Or when you're making a decision on the coach, do you also look at it and say, you're not going to have time. We want success now. The foundation is there, we need to build. And what type of environment does that create for the youngsters? Do Abo Matiba and Abo Silepe and the guys who are just a little bit on the fringes, do they come in and still get their chances under a coach that is maybe under pressure to go and win things? Should the coach even care to develop these players? Should a coach be coming in and asking for transfers and saying, if I want to go and face Ahly again and defeat Sundowns, I need purses to be opened the way purses have never been opened? Or are you looking for somebody who can carry what has been done and hopefully replicate what took Coach Rivero 3 years to get right? On the topic of winning, now the CAF Champions League becomes a real discussion. And I'm not saying that Pirates didn't have ambitions of the Champions League when they got to the final in 2013, or whether they've had ambitions of the Champions League throughout ever since they've won the Star. I'm not questioning that. I am asking that, is this now a must at Pirates? That is what we're looking at. I'll show you an example. Mamelodi Sundowns wanted the CAF Champions League. It's been Tate Motsepe's #1 goal. But it almost feels like in the past season, or at least from the start of the season with the changes they've made, they're now moving in a way that suggests that they are breathing in Champions League. Ahly breathe Champions League. Sundowns is now breathing Champions League to the point where they might even put aside some parts of their game in order to win this thing. But back to Pirates. Is Pirates willing now, or is it now in their focus that we need to be the consistent team from South Africa with Sundowns that goes to go play that tournament? And does that mean that you go and fetch, I'm just going to use a random name, please don't kill me, Marcel Collar? The guy was just fired for Ahly. I think he's won 2 of the last Champions Leagues that Ahly won. Do you fetch him and say, Marcel, our goal is to make Pirates a well-known team in Africa. We want to go and compete earnestly up there. So we're bringing you in. We're going to back you, because not only are we looking at the CAF, we're also looking at the Club World Cup 4 years from now. We want to be one of the teams that's going to be there. There's so many moving parts at Pirates right now, and there's a vacuum. I think Abo Prasten, Abo Prafloyd, Nabo Kimang Rivero were working as plugs. I don't have a technical director, I don't have a coach, I've got Prasten. I may not have Prasten, I may not have a coach, I've got Ufloyd. I may not have Ufloyd Mbele, I may not have Prasten, I've got Jose Rivero, who's 3 years into the squad building thing that he's been doing. So they've sort of been covering each other. Now, all 3 of those pillars are pretty much gone. Now, I don't want to make it seem as though Pirates is not a team that can bounce back from this. At the end of the day, Uchairman is still chairman, and some of the people that he's blooding in have been there for a little bit. So I'm not going to say it's too much. It's like it's too big of a bridge or too big of a river to cross. But the moves that Pirates makes from now until the start of next season are going to be so interesting. You know, a lot of names have been thrown around when we speak about who can take over at Pirates. Coach Pitso was one of the guys that was mentioned. And Coach Rulani was one of the guys that was mentioned. In fact, somebody on my live stream last night said that maybe you bring in Coach Pitso and you're making him a technical director, which would be incredible. I never would have thought of that. But is Pirates willing to lose Ubu Pirates to satisfy those urges and to bring those guys in? I love them. But like I said, there's an ethos at Pirates. They don't get too excited. You know, they don't pressure coaches that much. There is a skeleton or a blueprint of how you play. You know, Rile follows Lodge, who followed, I don't know, Walaza. You know, Tito is a 10 that does this. You always have a Lechwati at the back, or a Nda, or a CBC now. Like there's patterns throughout that. In the midfield, where you had a Jali and Manyisa, you now have, to a degree, Makaula and a Tito and Mbata. There's ways to look at how Vincent Pule and Saleng and Nkota could be similar, in the same vein. Yes, different in some of the things they do, but the idea remains the same. So they've got an identity. But Coach Pitso and especially Coach Rulani are known to want to change things, change the foundation, remodel this thing and build it in their image. Is Pirates ready to do that? And I think it brings about an even bigger cultural question, because we're saying this about Pirates, for example, but at the same time we acknowledge Abu Prasten. So there's a huge conversation that's happening around Mamelodi Sundowns and its soul and all of that stuff. And what's interesting is, why is it that it seems as though it's so hard to change things? And I know I'm off-ramping, but why is it that it feels like it's so hard to change things when now Prasten went over to Italy, came back with Shushan and Piano, implemented it at Sundowns? Where Kaizer Chiefs and them went over and brought in Abu Eddie Lewis and brought in all of those guys, changed some of their structures at times. Why is it so hard to even fathom that Abu Rulani would come in, couldn't or shouldn't be allowed to come in and change the fabric of what Pirates is, especially right now when it's open for all intents and purposes? But is Pirates willing to do that? But it's also a personality question. Because, like I said, I outlined, Zimbabwe was a certain way, Jose Rivero was a certain way. You see Coach Mandla Ngigazi is a certain way when he addresses the media. Yeah, he can get spicy sometimes, but for the most part, their whole job is not to create drama. You can even see the club moving towards controlling narratives with, you know, the change room, the road to what, the little games they play with the players. They're now controlling narratives. Would they be willing to bring on coaches that are that volatile? And I guess the question I want to end it with is, how Jose left, how Zimbabwe left, were not noisy, it was not noisy, it was not loud, it was not out here talking out loud. I mean, Coach Nebi has just come out and said, nah, if they don't, I can't do another year like this. 9-9. Any rumors you hear about Pirates will stay rumors. Anyway, the quietness. Are you willing to bring in some guys that I love? Again, I love Coach Pitso is my number one. But that personality and how they left their clubs and how loud it was. Are you willing to bring that? And it's not to say that they're not going to work anywhere, but specifically for Pirates, other teams may be able to control that, may like that. Like a Coach Pitso at Kaizer Chiefs could possibly be the best thing in terms of personality and club match. He could wrangle all of us. But at Pirates, does it work? Anyway, I want to move on now to the other Soweto giant that recently ended a 10-year drought. I'm not going to speak too much about the game. My reviews are out. But I want to speak about the situation that Chiefs finds itself in. There's rumors that have come out that Coach Nabi might be leaving. It seems as though, there's a game of chess that is being played. Coach Nabi saying things publicly, Kaizer Jr. saying things publicly, but we have yet to know. Personally, I thought Coach Nabi would resign. I thought he'd have enough of this. I don't think it suits him. But in any case, it seemed like a cut and dry situation. Chiefs is doing badly in the league. They've done badly in other cups. If they were to lose, if they had lost the Nedbank Cup, it's cut and dry. All right, guys, it didn't work out. It was fun. It was great. Maybe it's best we part ways right here. But now that you have the Nedbank Cup, things change. And I'll come to me personally. Personally, for me, I look at Coach Nabi and I go, okay, forget about Coach Nabi. I look at a situation and go, if a coach is able to bring you a trophy, they deserve at least one more season. It buys them one more season. If a coach comes in and they're able somehow, you think about your Mikel Artetas and all of that, comes in, it doesn't matter what was happening that side. Nali trophy corner, especially a 10-year drought trophy. But I'm in two minds. Because on one side, I hear that one. But then I look on the other side and I go, what if this trophy is just a bandage, over a broken leg? As if I took a plaster and I just put it on top of this thing. It's still broken. Is this enough for me to fix this whole thing? Or does it become a situation where the overconfidence of winning this trophy makes them think that, no, we're on the right track, actually? And I'm sorry to the Motaung family to point this out, but the few times where we were on the right track, an ego took over. Ay man, lento yasebenza. That's one number 5. No, surely we can do better. Gavin Hunt, Champions League quarterfinals. Ay man, now lento yasebenza. Surely we can do better. We can get rid of him. It's fine. Ernst Middendorp finished second on the last day. Hey, kubhlungu mara hayi man. Chiefs is number 2. We can get rid of this guy. And part of me feels like that is what is a little bit of what's happening at Chiefs if Coach Nabi does leave. That we have lucked our way into a very good position. Or not even lucked. Let's say we got into this position because of certain coaches and certain coaching. I question Nabi all the time. But anyway, you've gotten there. And now, when you are meant to take the next step or allow that person to take the next step, like I hear a lot of people saying about Ernst Middendorp, Ernst Middendorp only had one plan. And once the teams figured him out, cool. You've got a whole off season to go and look at your plan and learn some other things or bring in some other parts and bring in some other this and do different things and learn how to vary. Because in that season, as much as you complain, it's number 2, best season of recent history. Since Mamelodi Sundowns started winning the league, this is the best, this run that they have. The best shot we had was Coach Middendorp, who should have maybe been given another chance. I feel a little bit the same way about Coach Nabi, but it's a little bit different. I've always said that I think Coach Nabi is the right coach at the wrong time. Stay with me. If Coach Nabi had come into, as he is now, had come into a team from the late 2000s, early 2010s Kaizer Chiefs, when there was a certain level inside Kaizer Chiefs, and he just needed to come in and direct traffic, That's how I feel he is. I feel like he's a Carlo Ancelotti. I feel like he's a coach that comes in, assesses the situation. He has players that he can trust, and he kind of lets them go. And the reason why I bring this up here, and why it's important with Coach Nabi, maybe a little bit different but important. Coach Nabi for me is a vibes coach. Or when if he comes into a club that's on the up, that's feeling good, that's going well, you would think that it makes the directing a little bit easier, because he doesn't have to coddle people and bring up their emotions. He just has to make sure that he can take the good to the great emotions, the happy to the extremely happy. I think that's him. And this season killed him, in his own words, killed him. Because again, I believe that he's not a builder. And I think maybe underestimated what it means to be Chiefs coach in the country. You know, some other teams, you can be lying at the bottom as not even at the bottom, you can be lying at the bottom as one of the bigger teams, the bigger giants, and nobody's going to ask you questions. Nobody's really going to press you that much. With Chiefs, I think he started to feel the pressure of the 10 years. He started to feel the pressure of the media. He started to feel all of that on him. And you could even see his demeanor change. So now that he's won the Nedbank and maybe gotten the proverbial monkey off of Chiefs' back, wouldn't that be the best situation for him to continue? Wouldn't that be the best situation for him to then control the vibes, not having the pressure? Control the vibes. You know, the Chiefs players are happy. Maybe this also takes pressure off of them. And now maybe you see a different team play, headed by him. Or are we making the same mistake where we take something that has now been perceived as being good. We take actions that have given us something, and we go, no, it was us that did it. Kipando Muntu, we are on our way. And I've listed the different places. I've listed them. Atazwani, Coach Hunt. Coach Zwane immediately after Hunt. Remember, Hunt got fired quarterfinals. Arthur took the Wydad game. I remember Benzarti was so angry. Then come the final, Stuart Baxter's the head coach. Again, man, things are looking good. Move, Arthur. We got this now. That's what I'm fearing with what is happening at Chiefs right now, if Coach Nabi does leave. Now remember, I'm going to say it again. I am not a huge fan of Coach Nabi. I'm not. I think there's tactical things that are lacking. There's some man management things that are lacking. But he won a trophy. He should get a season, at the very least. What is there to lose? Because my fear, again, is that time. Chiefs is going to sit. When he leaves, it's end of the season, let's say he leaves, they're going to sit, and it's going to take us a month and a half to get the coach. And the coach is going to get here and not have a preseason, a full preseason. And the coach is going to get here and we're not going to see the transfers that need to be made. Transfers will be made that are not for the coach. And then we're back in the cycle again and again and again. Think about how it went from Coach Baxter, how it went to Coach Middendorp, to Coach Hunt, how it went to Coach Zwane, Coach Mlifintseki, Coach Kevin Johnson, and now Coach Nabi. Right when you're at the door, egos take over. And that is what makes this Nedbank Cup win so interesting, but also what makes what's going to happen next very interesting too. Especially knowing that Chiefs is probably going to finish number 11 this season, even with the trophy. But well done, Makosi. Well done, Coach Nabi. And a special shout out to my captain, Yusuf Martu, who's come under so much pressure. But to have him be the one that wins us that trophy that ends the drought, poetic justice. Well done to the boys. Well done to Kaizer Chiefs. Well done to everybody. Let's see if we can take this momentum and move forward with it. This has been the George Mokoena podcast. I'll see you guys on the next one.